What up, everybody? It's your boy Young Fizz, aka Mr. Dope Status on Instagram, and welcome back to another tutorial. Today we are back inside of the machine, and I'm gonna be showing you guys maximizer and the limiter. So which one do you use? Please comment down below, let me know. And also don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and please do not forget to turn on the bell notification so whenever I drop a new video, you'll be notified. All right, so let's go ahead and get into today's tutorial. This is the maximizer versus the limiter. All right, so we have a track here, and I'm gonna go ahead and play it for you guys here. So by the end of this video, my goal is to have your tracks going from something like that to something like this here. All right, so now that we hear the potential of what the maximizer limiter could do, let me show you guys how to get that result. All right, there's a trick to this. And the trick is to really understand what is going on with the maximizer and the limiter. So let's go ahead and talk about the limiter first. All right, so now the limiter has different modes, right? It has the transparent mode, which is, it has your threshold, release, and ceiling, and then the legacy has just one knob here, which is the threshold. Now, so what is a limiter, right? That's where we want to start. We want to understand what a limiter is. And a limiter, all it does, it has two jobs. The main job of a limiter is to make sure it doesn't go above the 0 dB, because anything that goes above 0 dB, that's in the digital realm, that's clipping, and that's not necessarily a good thing. And the second job of the limiter is that you want to make sure the perceived volume is raised a little bit higher, and that's achieved by using the threshold knob. So that's why this knob is here. So with the transparent limiter, you have a little bit more control over the legacy, which is, you just kind of set it and forget it. It's like an auto release control. All right, so let me go ahead and show you guys what happens when I add this limiter in here. All right, so you can hear how when I move the threshold down, it's gonna get a little bit louder, and that's exactly what we want. And if you saw the meters, know how it didn't go past the 0 dB. I didn't have any clipping on my tracks here. So let's go ahead and play that one more time. So we want to be very careful with this knob, and we don't want to overdo it with the threshold, because that's how you have your track sounding really bad, is when you use too much of it. You want to be very cautious with the limiter here. So I'm going to go ahead and undo this and put it right back to where I had it to start. And that's the threshold. And so you want to just kind of keep an eye on your gain reduction. So the next thing you have here is the release control. And that's just saying at what point, when the signal falls below the threshold, do you want me to stop working? And so remember, if you can recall from the compression video, it's basically a sustain control. And so again, the threshold here is just basically at what point do you want the limiter to start working? And so the ceiling basically controls at what point the cutoff, so it's like the cap. So at what point you want me to stop? So let me just go ahead and drag the knob down here. So that's -10. Drag it down to about -20. So no matter what I do, it's not going to go past the -20 dB. And that's like its cap right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo that. And then the same thing for the legacy control here. It's just the set it and forget it knob. All right, so we're going to go ahead and undo that. Now that we talked a little bit about the limiter, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the maximizer. And the first control that you can see here is the amount. And that basically just says, how loud do you want me to turn up the volume here, right? So let me just go ahead and demonstrate this for you guys here. So you could really push the maximizer up a lot. If that's what you desire, you can go ahead and push it up a lot. All right, so pushing it to the right turns it all the way up, and pulling it down to the left decreases it. Now that we talked about the amount, let's go ahead and talk about the curve. Now, the curve is important because this basically says how aggressive do you want your sound. And so this is a compression knee that's used to basically determine how aggressive you want your signal. So to the left is going to be a subtle effect. And if you turn it up to the right, you're going to get a more aggressive effect. And that's pretty much what the curve does. Now let's talk about the turbo here. Okay, so the turbo is important because this tool basically says, hey, let me multiply whatever I'm doing times 2. So by having this off, you're going to have a more quieter sound. And when you turn it on, it's going to double the signal that you have going on here. All right, so now working with them both together is definitely a good idea. And I like to use the maximizer before the limiter, right? So let me go ahead and play both of these together now. And let's go ahead and play the before and then play the after again. So this is before. And now this is after. And that pretty much is the tutorial. And one last thing before I let you guys go, I do want to note this here, right? So the limiter, you want to be very cautious with the limiter because it does introduce some latency. And latency is not really good when it comes to producing because you want your stuff to be in time. So I recommend that when you use these plugins, make sure you, especially with the limiter, make sure you use the limiter on the master channel here. And when I say master, is right here. This is what I'm talking about, the master, because these plugins can be, instantiated on the sound level, the group level, and the master level. And when you use them on the sound and group, you can definitely sidechain like I did with the compressor video. So if you haven't seen that video, definitely go back and watch that and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's your boy Young Fizz, aka Mr. Dope Status on Instagram. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. We out.